10 years ago, who would have thought you're streaming surround sound of a live orchestra?
Played back in real time over very high quality remote audio systems. We did this all in about 2 weeks.
It's a community and a connection thing.
It was really cool. We had 7 people in 7 different countries collaborating live in the moment.
You could have a more intimate way of working with your remote partner.
So when they hit play, our approachable system went into play and we saw it against the picture.
It's warm and instantly recognizable.
I was a part of making something happen.
Music to film, podcasting and interviews and broadcasting.
The tools we're building today are really going to be tools that we're using in the future.
The most exciting thing is seeing people using it.
You know, we don't have to be in the same room anymore. We can be anywhere in the world now.
People could work remotely. It's a really incredible time to be working, being together while we're apart.
Source elements.
Recording the Vienna Symphony Orchestra was incredibly moving. As a composer, it's been a lifelong dream to work with orchestras, and being able to do that remotely means that you get to experience the intimacy of an orchestra while sitting in your own room with your own headphones. I'm a trained composer before I became a technology developer. One of the things that is most extraordinary about what I do is being able to hear very, very high quality musicians played back in real time over very high quality remote audio systems. This project started because we have this documentary that we wanted to prepare for the AES conference. What we don't have as a company is a bumper, which goes at the top and tail of videos, for example, we put on YouTube. So we decided, let's get a bumper made, pull in an animation team, then we need a songwriter, a composer. Hey, let's get the Vienna Symphony Orchestra to do it for us. And they agreed. And we have a scoring mixer, and we need some ADR, and then we need a VO talent, and all of this pulling together. We did this all in about 2 weeks. I can't believe that this actually worked.
This was such a quick turnaround because you've got, you know, a pretty big team of people, and some people are doing the video side and then like all the other stuff that's going on. And we were doing like revisions and like, you know, revising what the tempo was going to be. And, you know, what is there going to be a resolve at the end? Is there not going to be one? And it wasn't until yesterday where we finally locked down on like, okay, we think that the music is for the most part really good. So I just kind of had to think of like, okay, well, it needs some sort of theme. It's not going to be overly complicated and avant-garde. It's going to be something that's like populist and fits in with like, you know, source elements and what that is. Like it's a community and, you know, there's a connection things. I was like literally on a Zoom call with everybody and I had this like little da-da-da-da-da like in the back of my mind while I was on the phone with them. And I was like, yeah, I think I've got an idea. And like, I'll send you something in a couple of hours. And that's like literally what happened, you know.
The one thing that's hard when you're a musician working remotely is you're missing a lot of information about what's happening around you because that's now virtual. And so there's so much that we don't know when we're working online. And as a musician, we don't get the full physical experience that we're used to getting when we're together. One thing that motivates me is to think, how can we reproduce? What kind of technology and processes can we implement to really make us comfortable and confident about being together online as musicians, as any kind of real-time performance. In the last 15 years we've been doing this, perhaps it was cost prohibitive for a composer to travel to work with an orchestra, or they needed to be with their family, they have work commitments, perhaps they're on another production. Now knowing that we can work when we can't be there, our next steps are also to look at what kind of experiences we can do online together that actually enhance us being together while we're apart.
So originally it used to just be, you know, clients in a room recording a voice talent who is afar or a singer or whoever it was. And maybe you had one person who couldn't make the session. But now with COVID, everything's remote. So we have multiple clients. They're all in separate locations, and the talent is in a different location, together but separate in a sense. So all the different things we made that were for one purpose, review and approval, remote voice acquisition or recording, now all those different modes are happening at the same time out of necessity. We started out of a post house that I was working at for many, many years called Cutters. The audio division was another country, and internet at that time was sort of just coming up to speed. We had this amazing T1 line, and I kept on saying, like, why can't we do this over the internet? The ISDN's only 128K, and this T1 line's 1.5 megabits. There was a satellite office in LA, and I proved that we were able to stream from LA to Chicago, and with that, we had the idea that this was possible. This was in the beginning years, technically just before even Skype was out. With that, we began looking for collaborators that we could make the software with. We talked to various companies, various individuals, and the prices were very high. So it was sort of in passing. Rebecca, a friend of mine, a mutual friend, and we were just sitting at a bar, and I was mentioning that I was trying to sort of bring this concept to life, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I can help with that." We put together a business proposal, and once we began, we were able to get version 1 done, and that's how Source Elements started.
When we launched 15 years ago, we had the high quality down. And what we started to do over the years was add tools and ways of being together where their intimacy could be heightened because you could control each other's system, you could know and have safe, reliable transfer of sound, a more intimate way of working with your remote partner, because we would offer tools that gave you a sense of security, that you really understood that every time that you pressed play, that recording was going to be perfect. So that was the first session we've done with the new gateway, and we were using it alongside Source Connect Pro X for multi-channel. So we had 5.1 streaming of the orchestra back to Chicago for monitoring and the score, and the rest of us were on the gateway having a stereo down mix. And then we also got to see the live video of the animation while the orchestra was playing to it.
I've worked closely before with like different orchestras, and I've usually been in the same room with, whoever the music director is or the conductor, and you can like show the score to them, and if anything's wonky, they can go, "Oh, we just need to just refine that little bit," and etc. So in this situation, it wasn't like that at all. Like we just had to send them the Pro Tools session with like all the string, horns, etc. audio, and then try to make sure that the score was like, accurate enough. And luckily, by the time we all woke up this morning, it was done.
So we have a location in Germany, Austria, Portugal, London, and Chicago all in this session, right? The workflow basically was we had a number of people connected. So everyone was talking with each other over what we call the gateway or the Source Live gateway, which is like your traditional web chat. So everyone was conversing there. The orchestra was using our Source Live software to stream the very high quality audio and picture, which was the picture that we're scoring against, to that same gateway. So it's sort of like the projector in the room. If the gateway is the control room, the projector in the room is and the audio monitors too. That's what everyone was listening to. So for us over here, we wanted to make sure that everything was in really high quality. So we were receiving surround from the stage, and we were locking transports. So when they hit play, our Pro Tools system went into play, and we saw it against the picture, exactly where they were recording it against their picture. They were using our Source Live software to broadcast the picture from their rig, along with stereo at that time, or stereo audio, and that was to everyone except for us. They were also running Source Connect Pro X on their Pro Tools rig, and feeding us surround of the orchestra, along with transport lock, so that our system locked to theirs. So they were running two systems. But the nice thing about using the gateway is that really no one had to worry about cross-patching all the communications, which used to be a setup in the past. The gateway simplifies that tremendously. So it's just a traditional call or web chat in a sense, and then everyone's listening to their end, to the stream that they're delivered to, either us on Source Connect, Pro X and Surround, or everyone else with the live stream. Who would have thought you're streaming surround sound of a live orchestra?
Yes. Again, I've worked with like some fantastic people, but nothing touches what I just heard the Vienna Symphony pull off today. It was just like incredible.
Today we had the voice record for the Source Elements opening sequence that we're building. The voice talent was Somerset in Melbourne, Australia. Mike was recording everything in London, and I was supervising over here in Chicago. The way the session was set up, Mike was connected to Somerset using Source Connect.
Okay, it's logging in, check the settings are correct. Yes, my input's getting there. Okay, here's Andrew now. So we connect to Andrew. There we go. And I say hi to Somerset. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you fine. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Pretty dandy, thank you. Pretty dandy. It's late here in London, but your early mornings are our late at nights.
Mike had picture in his Pro Tools system, but then he made an RTL, a remote timeline file, that was essentially a mirror of his Pro Tools timeline, except in a small deliverable application that's easy for Somerset to open.
The application asks me to name the zip file it creates and where I want to save it. It then asks me to password protect the encrypted video file for file safety and transit security. I then send this file to the remote end via my preferred method of file transfer.
She just has to drag and drop the file onto the timeline application, and it opens up the movie. That gave Somerset the same picture on her computer. The only difference is that now Mike is in control of Somerset's playback from his Pro Tools system.
Okay, I'm going to click send in my RTS now. So if you click receive in your RTL, so if I hit play,
Yep, I can see it.
excellent. So that's working nicely. Good.
And now Mike has to be able to allow me to see that and hear it so I can comment.
Hi, Robert. Are you there on the gateway?
I sure am, and I can hear Somerset already. Hello, Somerset.
Hi.
Where are you exactly?
I'm in Australia, in Victoria.
So you guys are just heading into your summer.
It's been rainy the past couple days, but yeah, it's definitely warming up.
Mike is transmitting his picture from Pro Tools over Source Live LL, which I can pick up in a web browser gateway, similar to a chat room, and I can see the picture, any music and other sound effects that he's playing back, as well as the real-time record of Somerset, again in perfect sync because Mike's receiving it in sync from Somerset.
So, Somerset, are you ready to go for a little read-through?
Yeah.
Mike, I think I'll leave it to you. We'll get rolling here, right? There's a Source Connect connection, very high quality. And if there's a bump or a bandwidth glitch on the internet that causes a small problem, that is fixed by the auto restore system. So everything's guaranteed to be a clean, perfect recording.
When I hit record in my local Pro Tools, the VO mic feed is recorded in my local Pro Tools audio files folder. The remote cue manager knows what has been sent and checks with my local queue manager that it has all been received. If there is a wobbly in the internet and the VO transmission is inadvertently affected and I suffer packet loss, my local queue manager spots this and tells the remote queue manager that I'm missing information. The remote queue manager then sends this missing information via an FTP site, and this missing data is automatically restored in the background into my audio files folder. Okay, let's have a little go through and a take and see how we get on. So playing from the top.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, Robert, you're receiving everything.
Oh yeah, it's looking great. And this is when Mike initiates record. The first thing that happens is that Somerset's video playback goes into position and starts rolling, and she performs against the video that she's seeing.
The world is a melting pot of ideas.
Her performance comes back to Mike over the internet on Source Connect, and then his Pro Tools system rolls or chases Somerset, so he's recording her in exact sync to his picture in the same place where she performed against her picture.
Source elements.
That was a really nice read.
On the gateway, there's a meeting room or a chat meeting room so that we can talk. Mike and I can talk with each other.
Let's try playback, Robert, of the last take. I've just moved it, put it into position.
Great, let's hear it. Mike is feeding that chat back into Pro Tools using Source Nexus, which is essentially a plugin that lives in Pro Tools that can pull audio in and send audio to any other application. In this case, the web browser, which is where Mike and I are chatting. So now Mike is taking my voice from the web browser, feeding it into Pro Tools, and through Nexus, sending it to Somerset so she can hear me. And now we're all hearing each other as if we're in the same room together.
The world is a melting pot of ideas. Access and connect to the global creative village with our innovative and collaborative solutions. Change your paradigm. Be a part. Create together. Source elements.
Love it. That was great.
Good for you,
Yeah,
Somerset?
that's cool.
We were able to direct Somerset with the right reading and tone. And really, at that point, it's as much as possible like a session where everyone's in the same studio, except we have literally the entire globe covered: London, Chicago, and Melbourne, Australia.
Let's have another crack at the improved script now.
Ready?
Okay,
Yes.
everyone ready?
Record, approve, and monitor in real time from anywhere. Be a part. Create together. Source elements.
Okay, well, that was a nice read. Let me just drop that back and then we can review it. And I think it'll fit nicely. There we go. Okay, I'm going to play this back to you. And we go into review mode.
Record, approve, and monitor in real time from anywhere. Be a part. Create together. Source elements.
I thought that fit really well.
I agree. I liked that. Had a good feel to it. Somerset, I think we've got everything there. Robert, you happy? Do you think we've got all we need?
I believe we do. Yes.
Yeah, well done, Somerset. Thank you very much. You've been a star.
Thank you.
I think she's done a great job. Absolutely.
Okay, well, have a great day and enjoy the surf.
Yes, I will.
And thank you for doing our voiceover for us.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll disconnect from you now. Thanks, Somerset. Take care. Bye-bye. Okay, that went really well. That was very successful.
For sure. Yeah. Literally around the globe, right? Australia, Chicago, and London. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's great to be a part of it.
Joe, we're on. Cool. So thank you for jumping on with Source Connect and the timeline and just being able to do this review really quick before we set up for the mix tomorrow.
For the orchestral edit session workflow with Robert and Joe the composer, Joe used Source Connect 3.7 to be compatible with his version of Pro Tools 9 and OS X 10.6.8.
So you downloaded everything from the orchestra? You have all the various mics and tracks that they gave you?
Yes, I do.
It's like a billion tracks, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about, I think it's 187.
Awesome. That's great. That's going to make my Pro Tools system explode.
Joe sent Robert a remote timeline video, which is a password-protected copy of his Pro Tools video timeline, but with a small app included that enables Joe to control Robert's video playback and stream his audio in sync from Source Connect using Source Connect Remote Timeline Sync, or RTS.
So that's basically where we're at right now. Where you've got a tuning sample at the beginning, then the Vienna orchestra comes in, and then there's an edit towards the what we call a mnemonic in the business, which is the thing that happens with the reveal. And the main thing that we're doing right now is trying to find the correct mix of number one, the Vienna orchestra, and then number two, how to make that mnemonic pop with the logo reveal at the end in the best possible way.
This meant that Joe could solo items in the orchestra recordings that he wanted Robert to hear, and they could discuss what deliverables they would want to send Robert for the final mix session.
Maybe just play me the violin section. I just want to hear some of the sections as you might split them out, just so I can hear what the separation is really quick.
Okay, so that's like horns.
That's great. That's totally separated. That's wonderful. The original demo you did, the Celeste, sounds really nice and clear. And the new ones, they're like, they sound good, but they're a little bit duller, I guess.
Can you hear those?
Yeah, I hear them.
Again, like those parts as played by the symphony are beautiful, but I can definitely send you the original, at least like the stems.
I think we might need them just for clarity, just those ding dong at the very beginning.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
The conversation was originated on the telephone, so they stayed talking on the telephone and let Source Connect stream Pro Tools audio and control Robert's remote timeline sync.
I think that where we're at right now is actually we're in great shape. What is Take It? I think this is the one that works the best.
Okay.
And I think that, again, especially given the insane turnaround that we have on this,
Yep.
we can make this one work.
Good.
It was a very impromptu and easy and quick session.
I think this should cover it. Let me get one more playback on that. It's just fun to see. I love it. If you can just like play.
This system now with like having my computer controlled, you and I are becoming professionals at this.
I know. Oh, wait. Yeah, I got it. It's great. It's gonna be really nice, man.
Rock and roll.
All right.
The world is a melting pot of ideas.
Robert uses Source Live LL to connect and interact with Joe the composer, also in Chicago, and me in London. Source Live LL has two main parts: the program stream with HD video and stereo audio, and the gateway video chat with webcam and conference audio. Pro Tools feeds the program stream with audio and HD video, and Robert's talkback and webcam are sent to the gateway. Joe and I each have a webcam and talkback to join in the three-way gateway, and separate outputs to hear the high-quality program audio.
I do like the way the like the two last lines kind of bracket some of the sound effects, like here.
Be a part. Create together.
So you had that from the strings,
Yeah.
and then it's sort of seems to. I've done that with the other script or the other read as well. I think that I just like that. How are you feeling overall about the mix? Any Joe, as far as elements go, the strings versus timpani, etc.
It sounds really good, and then right at the beginning of the score, and obviously the droplets are landing perfect with picture. I'm wondering if we need to do a slight audio edit to get the Celeste, etc., to land tighter with those droplets.
Right. So that it seems like it's late, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So how am I going to do that without disrupting the entire musical universe here?
I think if you just cheat it a frame or so, I think you'd get away with it.
Yeah, very possibly.
Yeah, give me one moment. So the only thing that happens there is the only thing that happens there is that the bum and the bum going up with all the water drops is the one thing that doesn't quite happen now where it was happening before, but that lines up the first three.
Yeah, it's almost like you could slightly move the Celeste forward a notch, and then just for the first
forward as in earlier.
The golden.
So I moved the whole thing just because I know all those mics are all live in the same room and everything. This is what that does to the end. Let's just watch it through because I scooted everything.
Okay.
Let's see. I think it still holds together actually.
Yeah, it does.
What about if the first four notes you da 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 da, and then you slice there, and you just yank that back to fit and slightly elongate that out with reverb, so the rest of it all stays in time. And most people aren't that timing sensitive.
What if we just edit the picture like this? Hold on.
Have you just shifted the front of the picture?
Yep, I just put a slice in the picture before it goes to the close-ups of this paint, and then I'm just trying to get the right placement.
Yeah, it's literally those first three droplets, which are lined up now really well, and then everything that comes in after is running slightly late.
Okay, so that's in. Let me move the sound effects now.
The world is a melting pot of ideas. Record, approve, and monitor in real time from anywhere. Be a part. Create together. Source elements.
Bingo.
Best of both worlds.
Looks really good.
Yeah, so that was 8 frames pushed later.
Okay. Again, it sounds really good, guys. And it looks really good to picture.
Joe, you had nothing to do with it at all, man.
Meanwhile, Rebecca Wilson, Source Mum, has taken a well-earned break from her mammoth vehicular trek from Portugal to Spain, parked off in a supermarket car park in the middle of deepest, darkest Nowheresville, Portugal, and joined us on the gateway with her iPhone from her mobile studio for a critical watch and listen. Yeah, another opinion.
I know that you're traveling, Rebecca, in a car, making this especially fun here. Are there other just big concerns that you're seeing or hearing? More importantly,
I don't think we need any watery, droppy sound effects at the end.
Okay, stand by.
Be a part. Create together. Source elements.
Yeah, the simplicity is maybe just works.
I like that.
I have to say again, I love the simplicity too.
Source elements.
I like it so much. I have to
prefer
say,
that.
And we really get to hear her voice, and it's a beautiful way that she says it, and it's open, and I love it. Joe, what's your thoughts?
I agree completely. I love it.
Yeah, that's for me definitely a good print we could use at the end of the film. Thank you guys so much. It's been amazing. I'm in a car right now watching a beautiful, like, full HD trailer with perfect music. This is amazing. Bye, Robert. Bye,
Take care,
Mike.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Rebecca. Okay, let's change everything, right?
Yeah. So
Sweet.
past tempo, we're gonna jump reggae, beat over everything.
I think we have it, right?
Yep, I think it's there, Joe.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, really wonderful working with you, Joe. Thank you so much, really.
Lovely working with you and Mike, Laura.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. Mike, thank you for staying up late.
My pleasure.
What's really great in your product is that you get everything in one tool. At the moment, you have to use different tools to get everything for the customers. So I think with your tool, you have the video, you have the music, and you have the chat or the talkback thing in one simple software. So if that is working great, it will be very easy to have confident customers. When the music starts, you should never think about the technique. So if you're doing a good job as an engineer, you don't have to care about the technique when you're recording the music. Then you're just talking about music. So if you are a good engineer and everything is good prepared, you can really focus on the music while recording. So the whole technical thing is happening before the recording. The whole thing with working remote is like a second mix or like a second working process, because on one hand you have to do the recording, so everything gets straight to Pro Tools and is correct in Pro Tools, and on the other hand you have listeners you have to satisfy so that they can judge their music. So these are two complete sets, but it's also, if you have done some of the remote sessions, you get experience in it, and that it's also, normally it's very easy to handle because you already know how to handle it.
And you've been doing remote sessions for many years. You certainly have that experience.
The whole product has to work perfectly because everyone has a different approach to the session. So the composer and the orchestrator want to chat with each other. The engineer has to see that the video is streaming correctly to the other client. So everything has really fit together very, very well so that everybody is satisfied. Recording an orchestra is really the masterpiece, and you really try everything which is written on the product. So if that product says, I can do this, you really try it to the limit when you're recording an orchestra, because it has to work. And there are a lot of informations and things on products which they are maybe working, but we really have to have it 100% working. It's really, let's say, the high and the top notch of recording something. So we have to really rely on the products and the hardware we are using, because that saves our life.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're used to seeing this, I think, right now with since the pandemic started, we're used to seeing all these little screens and all these people. But in this case, we're seeing something with real live musicians and people in different places controlling that. And I've never seen that yet in this lockdown. So I thought, oh, that's great. We're watching all these different people in different parts of the world rehearse with a group of musicians that is together. It's like the best of both worlds. There is also a different kind of energy when they're all together in that same room and we're listening from a distance. And the quality was super fantastic. I was so surprised when we were rehearsing that I could hear literally everything.
Could you describe what it's like being an orchestrator and working remotely compared to working as an orchestrator with the conductor and when you're in the control room?
Right, so working as an orchestrator in this kind of remote setting, I really didn't find anything different than how I would have worked actually in real life. Because we had that direct connection to the conductor, and he could actually hear everything I said. I could absolutely hear the orchestra with absolute clarity, as if I were in this bass, and the communication with him was just like I was sitting there. So there was really no difference. Maybe the only difference is that we couldn't drink beer with the musicians after. Rebecca and I had worked on this really beautiful project last year with the Gothenburg and Athens operas. There were two choirs composed of mostly of refugees from various parts of the world, and we made a piece where they could sing together. In this situation where we worked together with these two amateur groups, for them this was like such a surreal experience because these people couldn't travel. So this software was a perfect way to mediate their singing together. And even after the first rehearsal, at least in Athens, there were people crying because they thought we could never travel to sing with this choir. And so there was the music making part of it, rehearsing, was quite similar between the two groups, but there was this extra special level in the work that we did with Rebecca last year.
I found, Trevor, you working as a musical director, we had a 3-hour session with the orchestra. And after the first couple of hours, you were so comfortable, and you and the conductor had a relationship just through your voices. It was something that Bern said to me, as long as the audio's good, we feel like we're together. And you had that orchestra doing things that none of us imagined would happen.
The advantage is just that you can hear everything so well, because I could absolutely understand exactly what it sounded like, and then on that basis I could give further feedback to him. Oh, that doesn't work, or maybe more high harmonics, more ponticello on the low strings, something like that.
It struck me that there was a level of immediacy and intimacy between you and the conductor. When it becomes a remote way of working, everyone's much more engaged about the process. If you've got something to contribute, switch on, engage. And I was quite amazed at the amount of interaction between you and the conductor and how fluid that was.
So maybe it's no different than, even though we were all together in that room, we still had our own ways of our own sort of cultures, music cultures, I guess, of saying, could we try more pizzicato? And I would say to him, that's right. So, and I found that fascinating that we were all there and we could just get that message through.
And it was also effortless, bing, 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 bing. And suddenly my communication is going to the orchestra via you being translated into proper orchestral speak so quickly. I found that quite refreshing as a contributor.
There's another level to that, and that's just being able to read between the lines and to sort of understand what you say and try it. And you were probably reacting, because I remember you were reacting to this and saying, oh no, or maybe a little bit more here, and then I would get a clearer idea and go back and forth. So it's quite interesting how we're all able to read each other's minds.
It struck me that the orchestra had a lot of fun recording this.
So I was so impressed that they just did it. And I think you're absolutely right, Mike. They did have fun in the end. Because the sound was so good, I could actually hear a little bit of the nervous tittles, and I could also hear what they were saying, And at one point, I think one of the violin players said, they want us to do what? Who are they?
That's jazz.
Yeah, exactly. There's this thing that you miss sometimes with remote work, that you can't really feel the energy in the room. But in this context, maybe because the sound was so good, I could really feel that. I could pick up the cues of their voices, and in the sound, I could really feel that they became really confident with all of the Source Elements folks' really strange requests for them to do.
So you were effectively in the control room, even though you were in another part of Germany.
I just wanted to thank you so much for helping bring this music to life.
Oh, it was
I
my
know
pleasure.
Me and Joe just enjoyed so much seeing how the music grew into something extraordinary, and really thank you for that.
Yeah, it was a fun challenge and a fun project also to work with the orchestra. You don't get to work with such good players every day from your bed in a guest house in Germany. So it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Thanks,
great
Mike.
work, Liz.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rebecca.
This is the first time that I personally have been involved in a production like this, so I'm usually on the technology side, and this was an experience when we decided as a team to say let's produce something using our software, and we learned an incredible amount, and all of that is going to really come out into our new products, into our new services that come out in the next months. It's an exciting opportunity for us to think more about the pre-production side and the preparation side as well. Now that you know that you've got this incredible software to help you be together in real time when you need to be, I really want to start thinking also about how can we make it so you know when that time comes that everyone is prepared. When we're working online together, there is definitely the issue of latency. We're still delayed by latency, so there's some things that we can't do right now. We can't react to each other in real time, so we're listening and responding. That works very well for reviewing and approval. It works fantastic. The next step, the really big challenge, is how can we play music together? And that's going to be a big focus going forward.
The world is a melting pot of ideas. Access and connect to the global creative village with our innovative and collaborative solutions. Change your paradigm. Be a part. Create together. Source Elements.
The most exciting thing is seeing people using it. I mean, all kinds of different projects, from music to film to just podcasting and interviews and broadcasting. And
What was interesting during the initial part of the COVID pandemic was that we got to see a lot of communities that we hadn't previously interacted with, such as choirs, churches, schools.
it's just an honor to see how what we've created gets used day in and day out. You know, we're just ecstatic that people find it useful and that we're able to provide a solution.
It's a really incredible time to be working in this, knowing that the tools we're building today are really going to be tools that we're using in the future.